I was born in Jamaica.
Can you tell me, like before you came to Britain, what kind of childhood memories have you got?
Uh,
Perhaps before school?
Before school, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was quiet, obedient, which I have to listen to my parents, things like those. Um, it's really a child up today what it's all, you know. It's really different from my childhood because we'll have to hear when we were small. We have to listen, right? If it says certain time you have to go to bed and you have to come in at that time, not over. Things like those. It was really a different days from now what we are into.
So, did you think that children, in perhaps when you grew up, listened more to their parents, or not?
Of course, I was much obedient to the parents more now.
So, how were the parents? What kind of relationships did parents have with their children while you were growing up?
Well, most people, as far as I could say, it was good relation, right? Because the children were more obedient, and if if most of the kids, if they do what is right, then it will be no trouble, right? I mean, I'm not going to say everybody was perfect. You had the few but most of them were obedient child.
Can you tell me about school?
Well, I haven't got much education,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the little what I don't know, I'd like to go to school. And in my childhood, you have to obey your teachers, right? And such as you hear in the morning, you have to go to school very tired. Comb your hair. They used to when you go to school, and they used to have a pen or a pencil and run it in there. And if there's any knot or anything, you get a hiding for that, right? So your nails and everything, you have to be perfect.
Did you have to wear a uniform of any kind?
Well, mostly in those days, we had a uniform called khaki, right? And when you were lady starch those on high-end those, they're stiff and just looking smart, things like those.
So, can you tell me about your family? Did you have any brothers and sisters, or did you live in a wider family with your cousins or your grandmother, or so on?
Well, I live with my mother's side of family, right? My father comes from a place they call Manchester, and I don't know much about his side of family, but I live with my mother's side of family. That's where I grew up, and that side of family we all know, right? And I saw my father once about when I was 15, and I haven't saw him since. He must probably die now, but that's the way it was.
So, what kind of things would you get up to as children? Have you got any stories of what kind of any mischief or anything?
Oh yes. I'd like in my days, in our days. Now, I always respect the elder, but still we were mischievous, right? Now we used to have churches, those boat church, and they have the windows, half windows, and sometimes I used to have a uncle, he used to have bald headed, and sometimes I go by the windows and got your hand in his head and things like that, And it was nice, but still, still in my days, if if anybody in the district and saw me do anything wrong and make a report to my old lady or my uncle or anybody, you know, it's sad story for me, right? Because I'm going to get punishment for it. There are no turn back, no question asked. They believe whether I do it or not. They're going to believe the bigger one. You understand? Yes. I could remember once in my childhood, there was a young lady, and she was much older than me, and me and a friend and some more boys. So me and my brother and my cousin, we used to say, point out on those big girls, so that's our girlfriend, but to ourselves. So one Saturday evening, I go out the street, and there was out of order chap. So I said to him, tell the girl was Isilda, her name was. Tell her me call, I want her. And just as a joke, you know, and he shouted out, haunt, haunt, and put a big expression behind it, you know. So, I'm not always any saint, in other words. So, my sister.
Rolling. Yeah. 4, 3, 2, 1. You were talking about Isilda.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit more about her?
Yes. So, as I said before, that lad, you know, shouted out, he called her haunt, haunt. I sense if it come and, you know, there's a big word behind it. So I feel so ashamed because I know, you know, I tell him to say that, but to ourselves, not to the public, to her, because we couldn't, in our time, we couldn't face a bigger person with those kind of things. You understand? We know what it was, but we couldn't just do it. Anyway, so in the evening, my bigger sister come out outside the road, and I still tell her, and my sister go back and tell my aunt, and my aunt tell my mom. And when that the news sketch out, the Sunday, that was I think it was Saturday, and Sunday, whole day, I was underneath the bed with a book. And that was the punishment. She didn't beat me, but she put me underneath the bed with a book. And then all I could do, look out for most of the day. Right? And that was the punishment for that.
What about your food?
Well.
What were your favourite dishes when you were young?
Well. Well, I used to like, you know, breadfruit. I used to like breadfruit. Roast it.
What is breadfruit?
Well, breadfruit is a fruit. It's a fruit bred onto the tree. When it fit, you can boil it, you can roast it, and things like that. Some people even pound it and make into a thing they call fufu and things like that, you know. But most of the time we roasted it, I boiled it. Now, when you roast it, put it onto the wood fire, because in those days in the country we didn't have no gas stove and things like that. We cut the woods and make a fire in the kitchen, and when it burned, when that cold, you know, steam that breadfruit right through. And we'll get a knife and scrape it white, dip it in some water, get off that rough, all that rough off it until it's smooth, white smooth. And you split it open, slice it up, and you get what provision you want, some pork, salt, fish and ackee, and things like those. Callaloo, and you enjoy it. Lick every finger on the body, things like those. So it's enjoyable.
So you liked breadfruit.
Pardon?
You like breadfruit. What about Sunday dinner? Sunday dinner over here is always a big
Yes.
occasion. What about back home when you were younger?
Yeah. Well, we have mixture. We'll have a bit of rice, and a slice of yam, two fingers of banana, and thing like that. You know. Um, Sometimes even some cornmeal, and you turn it with the peas and everything with some wood. Chicken, saltfish, um, and same hockey. A bit of mutton, bit of beef, and things like that. All mixed up.
Sunday, people often go to church as well. Did you go to church? Was your family a family that took
Well,
part in any ceremonies or anything?
no, I didn't really go to it. They used to have a Sunday school in the district. You know, it's like a little village where we were born, and they used to have Sunday school, and every Sunday morning I used to go. And afternoon, in the evening, they keep meetings, you know. But as I said before, we only go to Mac and Jerry at that time when we're growing up, you know.
What can you explain what that
At
is?
Mac and Jerry's, just to take the Mickey out the others and things like that. You understand? Like some of the people they get in spirit and things like that. So we had a big laugh and enjoyed
Did you
amongst ourselves.
did you see anybody get in spirit as they call it?
Oh, you
Can you
several
remember
times.
anybody?
Yes.
Can you explain about one
Yes.
occasion?
You know, now music is they used to clap the tambourines, um, play guitars and things like that. And now music is a thing which reach the people, right? Music is a thing like how must I say? It's a part of thing which reach you when you're singing and when you praising God. You know, it's a thing what you feel. And sometimes those people, right? Whether Satanists, I don't know, but something come onto them, the feeling that, like they say, they feel a power, and you know, it put them into a trance, like you know, and things like that. Yeah.
So as a child, what did you think? Did you think
Well,
what kind of things went through your head?
well, several things, because I could remember one night, as I said, I used to be outside at the window, making games and things like that, and now it's when I growing up. This I'm telling you about when I teenager coming up, right? And I was Mark and Jerry just the same until they had a thing which on the service they called it penitent call, altar call. Now, and I could remember um, the preacher said if anybody want prayer, must come by the altar, and which I do because I wasn't that bad. But I go up with with the idea with just as a joke, and I kneel down and turn my face out back to the crowd, and there was a young lady. She baptized the same morning, and she come over me, and she rests her hand in my head, and she said, "Uncle Austin, change your ways." And I could feel a thing like a nail hit me from the toe straight up. And, and I find myself started in tears. Started in tears. And The voice come as if I didn't know who the voice was. That's the way the voice sound. You know, after she used the word, called my name about 3 times, so Uncle didn't change your ways. And about I feel that feelings right from my toe right up. And I used to, after that I go to the meeting about the Sunday night, you know, the following week, during the days, up to the Friday night. And it happened that I go to a district they call Portmorant. They're going to look for some work. When I go back down this Friday, I meet upon some different people, you know, and that was it. I never turned back to the church no more. That was that.
So, from your childhood days and growing up into your teenage years as a young man coming up, what about authorities such as police or the government, and finding work as a young man?
Mm-hmm.
How was Jamaica at that time?
Yes. In Jamaica, that time, if you not everybody, but if mostly of them, you know, Jamaica is a place which, what do I word myself for Jamaica? If you are into a little position, then you know, it's like such as your pass your whole level or things like that, then you may stand a chance amongst, but you the poor one, you know, it's not everybody have that big education, and it's hard for you, right? It's very hard. But the person who will accept you pass the exam and you pass that, some of them will get a job. But like the poor sort, the person without any, you know, qualification, then
Okay.
Something like stupid for targeting and for the busy. When you suffer like in Jamaica in the summer.
The flies,
Yeah.
get on my nerves. Okay.
Well, it was every year. When you ready now, I'll make me shut up now.
Okay.
And you carry on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you tell me about the differences in people who probably had a bit more education, like when you were a teenage
yeah.
person? What can you remember?
Well, such as I know and what I saw in Jamaica, the people with education, you know, and into a good job, they are, you have to say they are prejudiced amongst the poorer one, right? They treat you like you would be nobody. Some place you go, you know, the company, like you go into a store, and there are places which you, the poor one, you couldn't go. They wouldn't accept you.
What kind of places?
Like, you know, says the bigger one, them having the person with money having a dance or thing, or you know, the party or something like that. Then you, the poor one, you couldn't go there. They wouldn't accept you, right? And nobody wouldn't count you if you happen to go there. It's only for the rich. And
as a young man growing up, what kind of things did you do for leisure? Did you go out to dances, parties, etc.?
yes, I'd like dances up to up to this very day. We used to such as a day like August coming up, we used to in this schoolroom and things like that, big dances, and people from all over will come. Enjoy yourself. That's that's a drink, that's a young girl, that's a and everything. And this was quite nice, quite nice. I wouldn't say you wouldn't find the trouble sort, because in everywhere you go, you always find some out of other people. But most everything used to go quite smooth. They had a next dance which they call quadrille. That most for the whole of folks, them, and they used to pay, I think in those days, shilling for a set to dance. So if it is say about 6 men or 8 men, according to the size of the room, they come together and they pay for that dance, and nobody else don't supposed to get in, you know, going there and spoil it. That's what they buy, that's for them. Until when that's set out, somebody else will buy us a next set. And it was ever so nice. They played great banjo, guitars and fife and things like that. And everything was so pleasant in those days.
So it was people played live music
Yes,
then?
yes. We didn't have any mostly countryside. We didn't have any electricity and things like that. But men who play guitars, fife, shakas and banjos and things like that. And till about in somewhere in the 50s, sound system come out, and that was all. It was a big thing first when that hit Jamaica. Everybody used to, girls from all over, used to follow it and things. It was nice.
Can I just take an actual stop, please? Can you pause there, please? Can you pick up them? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You mentioned in the 50s that sound system took Jamaica by storm.
Yes.
Can you tell me who were the artists that were featured on these sound systems and what it felt like as a young man going to these dances with sound systems?
Yes. Well, in our district, there was a bloke, a chap the name of John. He had a shop on everything, and he make outside board like a tent, and it play before. It wasn't reggae in those days. It was more blues and soul, thing like that, right? And sometimes when you far away, you hear that sound coming. It was so nice. Sometimes it's only like well, she said it in Jamaica, people didn't worry about noise. You're playing music too loud, because everybody enjoy music. Music is a part of life. You understand? Music becomes something like when you're eating food. That's the way you flourish. You understand? And everybody was quite happy. It's not like since I came here, you hear, oh my God, I can't sleep, the noise, this and that. No, no, no. It's not so. Young and old enjoy the music. Some old people used to come in and go in, enjoy music. Yes, it was nice.
So who were the stars that you remember them playing? Any names in particular?
Well, they were, such as dancing. There was a chap named of Lincoln. He was super. He was like a little top. When you put it on the floor, just keeps spinning. There was a next girl, what her name was, I can't remember her name now, but they were good. At that time they used to wear this big flare dress, you know, and when it had a turn, it just opened up. It was nice, believe me. It was.
So who did you listen to, like Chubby Checker, or who were the names that you can remember?
Well, at the time, let's see, it's so long ago now, I can't even remember some of the names then, but hmm, I really could remember some of the names then at the moment.
Not to
But
worry.
it used to be every 5 o'clock. I think it was either twice or 3 times a week. And I did have buy a little radio. And we used to the radio station was RGR, Radio Jamaica, you know. And to each 5 o'clock it used to broadcast nothing but some music. And my wife had a little girl, that time she was about 5, and some more small one, and they come around and they would do the things, you know, and it was enjoyable to see them. Sometimes just like a hen with, you know, a little chicken them around them, scratching away, and that's, you know, everybody enjoy them and enjoy what they were doing and laugh, you know, have a laugh. It is, and it doesn't matter where you are, you always try to come home to beat from catch that music because it was so nice. It sound that, you know, what you're getting from over here, it was so nice.
So before coming to Jamaica, before coming to England, did you meet anybody who had already been to England and come back to Jamaica? How did you get to hear about England?
Well, I must say before, I would say before coming to England, I have a bit of experience in traveling before because I went to the state, right? Which the government, Jamaica government, he had a contract like with the American government, you know, and you go to, you recruit the men and you go in town and you have to go through medical tests from your head to your toe, right? For the first doctor you meet, I think that was, you feel your hands, and if it's suitable, you pass it through. And when you get inside, you have to strip off every clothes. And you had so many doctors to go through. You have to be perfect fit. But when you do pass, and when you reach the destination in America, the place where they put you, sometimes it's unbelievable. It's a disgrace. Because you could just figure that your government, they didn't care a kick about you. Everything was for money. Because the first camp I went to, it was December, somewhere in December, which, you know, Florida, but it wasn't that cold, but it's still cold till where you're living out the sunshine, you know. You didn't used to a climate like that, and you still feel it. And the camp which I went, it was pure and mighty concrete. There's not even a bit a newspaper on the floor. And it had a little oil stove in it. There are no heaters in it. And when you wake up in the morning, you could scrape off an amount of water what coming off the floor. Just from the sweat of your body and the, you know, the coldness.
So how old were you then, and what year?
I was
Do you remember?
about 25 at the time. But, you know, I just said, well, it's nice to be strong, because at those times I did really with myself, Because if it's now, I couldn't take those kind of life. Right. And when you go out in the field, you have to work. Then it was all pure level. And it takes a bit of time to get into it. You know. And we'll have the foreman over your back. You have to, you know, and if you're making a mistake, they will get in and send you home. If you have any money in the bank, they'll take, you have to pay your fare, but if not, they'll just ship you out. So you have to be careful what you do. It was like, you realize that it was like a bit of slavery, what you go through, because people, it may be nice to work 2 shillings, but you have to go do things which unbelievable for it, you know. Yes.
3, 2, 1. You told us that you went to America around at the age 25.
Yeah.
So from what point did you decide to come to England, and when you did you come by yourself or with somebody?
Come by myself. Now, I tell you this, when you travel and you're going to see places, that quick money right coming on, and it's just like a fever, you know, it's sort of like something urge, give it that urge to keep traveling, you know, you don't want to stop, you don't want to go back to the what you were doing anymore, you want a different life, although you know what you're going to face, it's not a bed of roses, but you make your mind up for that, you understand. I wasn't a rich man in Jamaica, but I used to own a couple of goats, pigs, and donkeys, cows. But I buy a cow and it dropped me a calf. And so, if I'd known what I know now, instead of coming here, I'd look after them. And I would be a better man in some respect. I'm not saying come here I didn't work any money, but the family behind it, you know, having the kids, and it take away everything. Bad luck, following after bad luck, and things like that, you know. So sometimes you look at yourself, you say, it doesn't worth it. Why did I do that? Why did I do this? You know, but I mean, now, I'm a strong believer. I'm not a Christian, but I believe the Word of God. Because every word he used is true. I don't say a man have to follow what he said, but I know, and I prove it. They are facts, right? When the time is near, men will be going through and through, seeking for riches. The thing what they are not there. Sometimes you leave it behind, but you have to go. Because the Bible fulfills on men, not on wood and stone. Right? So the Word of God must carry on. Sometimes what we're looking for, we don't know. But we have to go forward.
So, what were your reasons for leaving Jamaica and coming to England?
Because as I say, you know, when you're a young man, you see your company and they started to travel, you know, and some people, you'll there and see somebody come back out and he come back with a couple of pounds and can able to spend, you know, clothes and things like that. So sometimes you get jealous and say, well, all right, you like to travel, and if you get the go, you'll go. You see. And my reason for it, because I know what I was expecting. There's no doubt about that, because, as I said before, I'm doing a bit. But just, you know, just the money. Money spoil everything. You're looking down to get money, to make money. You understand? You don't want to do what you were doing anymore because you don't want to tire the hurt anymore, the cultivate anymore. You don't want able to bother with go to field to change your growth and things like that. So there's a herd just come onto you. Look forward. Let me travel and things like that. So you just sometimes give away what you have just to come here or go somewhere else.
Can you remember how much it cost you and what you had to do to get your passport?
Yes. Well, you apply for your passport. You have to fill in a form. You go to your JP and the school record. Right. Well, my old lady go with me at the time, and they forget which school you go to and things like that, and a JP sign that form for you, and you send off for your passport. And if you don't commit any crime or, because this coming from the government, if you commit yourself any, then you couldn't be able to travel. Because a lot of people come here in different names, right? Because, wrongdoing and things like that. And some of them regret it now because some of them reach pension and they're still young. You understand?
So what you're saying is some of them pretended that they were younger than...
Yes, the name what they use is younger than the age itself, so they have to go with that younger name. You understand? Which, say for instance, they're 30 and they're using 20. So they take off 10 years of their life. So they have to work, where they come in, they have to work 10 years more. Until that time they're 60, 70. You understand?
Definitely. So how did you travel? Did you come by plane and ship? And what was the journey like?
Oh, the second. I come by a boat in those days, they call it a scanner. It take me 14 days non-stop from Jamaica Port to Southampton. 14 days. When you started out for it was alright, but the more you enter into the ocean, the sea became rough, bad. And in the middle of the week when everything getting back to you, some people became seasick, your stomach turning over and things like that. Of a truth, I never choked, but when I do went up where they have in the meal, sometimes I just go for a cup of soup or an orange, you couldn't eat nothing to keep it down, but as I know, because I travel, so I know the consequence. So all those people who never travel, some of them, they just gravel up the things and think it was good for them, but no. After a while, you go to the corner, you see everything along there. So, in all those kind of way. The ship would have come on here. I couldn't remember one of the port, like a glass. I was down below, and there was one of the glass crack, and the water was coming in. When every rock, the shipwreck, it's all over. So about if you put your feet down, it will all wet. And the news gets round to them, to the workers on the ship, and they come in with tapes and that, and less than a time, because they know that they're in big trouble. Less than a time, they stop the water and mop it up. It's a nice experience. Yes, because you could be able to go up on deck and you look around and see how great this world, God made this world. When you're out there, all you could deserve is only the blue sky and the sea, no land. for so long. It's really great. And let you stop and think how mighty, how great our God is. Yeah.
So, did you make friends while you were travelling?
Oh yes, you
Did
made
keep
a lot
in
of friends.
touch with
Yes.
any other people?
Yes, you always make friends because you don't know, you never know some from, but when you go on the boat, you make friends. It's not with everybody, but you take the person like how you can deal with him. Because as I say, some people are big-headed, they're show off, and I'm not the type, right? I believe humble yourself is the most kindest way for me. You understand? So I always try to be humble anywhere I go. Mm.
So, arriving in Southampton that first time, can you tell me what the month it was and how you felt? The
Yes.
smells,
Oh
the
yes.
sight, everything about that
Mhm.
day.
It was a night, coming up a night. When I came off the ship, it's like expectation. I'll come to my brother, and he have the time wrong when he was to land. So it happened that I had to find my way where we were living. And when we were warned not to have nothing to do with a Jamaican because they are, you know, they are money grabbing. Anyway, but the first thing you come into a strange place and somebody come and say, well, all right, I can take you without any fuss, you will go. And it was a van, chap drive. And from where he took me up to where I was going, because I didn't know how far I've got to go at those times. He charged me 25 shillings. That was £1.5, and I think it was £1, 25 shilling. That was £1, 5 shilling, right? Hmm. And from where it took me, when I settled down, I go back the same place. It paid 5 pence on a bus, right, to where we're going. So you see, that's the way Jamaican operate, or people who have been here before you like to take the disadvantage from you, to the fellow man.
So you came here to your brother.
Yes.
What kind of place did you live in and how did you find it?
Well, when I came the first night, I stopped by my cousin where he was living, but he leave out and rent a room for the both of us. So the following day I went to where he was living. It was nice. It was a big house, and two of we occupy that room. It was a nice. People were nice, and nobody never interfere with you. But there something occurred with me and my brother, and that's why I said to myself, if if I if we part, then we will be able to live much better than stop together on each. So, and I leave from there when I was doing about 3 months or so. So I came up here.
So how did you get to hear about Wolverhampton? Why Wolverhampton?
Well,
Birmingham or
mhm,
Bristol or anywhere else?
that's it. Well, before I leave Jamaica, I was along with my wife here, and her father was in Wolverhampton. So you know, after it happened that we find out me and my brother wouldn't get along, so I wrote to him and tell him I'd like to come up here. So he must get a room for me, and that's how I come.
So what was that first room like? when you came to Wolverhampton?
Well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad because it was it wasn't that bad. The gentleman who had to get it was quite alright, you know. It was quite alright because he even get a job for me, the first job which I get here, up here. And he was quite alright, but I never stopped there long because the wife said he had a sister coming up, so I have to, you know, I stopped there for about a couple of months, so I have to leave. But away from that, they was quite alright. I have no complaint about them.
You mentioned you mentioned your wife. Can you tell me, if you want to, how you met and how did you begin your life over here?
Yes. I met my wife in Jamaica.
He's going to ring the bell. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You mentioned that you came
Yes.
over here, came to Wolverhampton, and you stayed with your wife's father. Now, can you tell me a bit about how you met your wife and how you finally became a family
Wow.
settling in Wolverhampton?
I met my wife in Jamaica, just at the same time which.
Sorry, can you repeat that again, please? Like you were leaning that
Alright,
side,
alright.
that way. You had your hand rested. You just lean that way.
That way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not too much, a bit more this way. That's it, that's all. Please repeat the question.
Yes.
I can't remember what I said.
Germany.
I was ad-libbed.
Germany.
How did you
Yes.
like, you know, finally coming to Wolverhampton and being a family? How did you meet your wife?
Yes, I met my wife in Jamaica. Just shortly as I, you know, came from America. And that's where we became friends. And from there it started to grow. My first daughter, she was in Jamaica up to now. I haven't sent for her. We had a child there before. So I leave her and came over. And shortly she came behind.
And the rest of your family, how many children have you got?
I've got, it would take me a day to find. I've got 7 children here. 7, 8 in all, but I've got 7 here. Right? 4 boys and 3 girls.
Their age ranges?
I think the eldest 37, 35, 34, 33. Yes, I'm not good at I'm not good when it comes to all those things. But anyway, I think the youngest one is 29. I think he'll be 30 sometime this year, December.
So did your wife join you when you came? How long did it take for your wife to come over to England?
The same here, right? Because of a truth, I didn't send for her. It's our whole month who, you know. But I think it was jealous because I was here. She wanted to come. She wanted us to come because I was here. So he asked our old man was to help her. And that's the way.
So did she come on boat like you did?
No, she fly. Come on the plane.
So what were your first thoughts when you came to Wolverhampton? How did you feel? Like you said, you had a job.
Yeah.
What was it like working with white people that when you'd been in the country, what had majority black people?
Majority white. Oh, when I leaving from the country.
Yeah.
Well, I must say, in those days, you find people who must socialize with some of them, not all. But I didn't have any trouble with them. I didn't have any trouble with them.
I don't think you're still talking. Yeah. You finished now?
No, not yet. Don't worry, just keep
You
it
thought-
going.
You taught the English thing already?
No, not yet.
Oh.
No, we do your report later. Come
I
on,
didn't
John.
have any trouble with them or so, because I always keep myself to myself. If the person will, if I look down the line and see the person are friendly, and I can get along with them, I will socialize with them. If not, because first thing, if I saw a person coming, I can read you up definitely and tell you who you are or what. You understand? Sometimes I may be wrong, but most of the time I'm right. Right? Because some people, they saw you coming on the street, and the minute they spot you, they go across the road or turn them head the other way. That means those people, you leave them alone. You understand? I always go out the street with a smile, ready to meet people. You understand? Doesn't matter what grievance I've got in the home, I leave it behind. Because I know people is people. And we should always try to live amongst people, especially when you're a stranger.
So what about your job? What did you have to do in your job?
Oh, it was a horrible job, that one. The first job for me was in London. And it was dirty, but it was nice. Because in those days, the job what I had first in London, it was cheap time. And I could able to come home with £13 and some pence after tax. And it was £13 could buy the world in those days, right? And it happened that, as I said before, through certain circumstances, would have to leave. And I'd go and give him a notice to the foreman. And he said to me, it was Irish bloke. He said to me, let me sure I want to do it, to go over Hampton, because he would advise me to stop there. But at those times, she was coming up, and everything, my desire was only to come up here. Probably, if it was now, I'd probably find a next accommodation down there and stop. But at that time, I was looking on the focus on Overhampton. Anyway, when I was leaving, he said, if me go up in Overhampton, if me don't like it, if I will come back. I said yes.